2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, and we are continuing the holiday festive season as we go along with one that I subjected the group to, and it is none other than Deadly Games from 1989. But it was directed by René Manzor. He is a French director, and this is a French movie. And it has been known by many, many names. It's not only called Deadly Games, but it's been called 3615 Code Pierre Noel, Dial Code Santa Claus, Game Over, and Hide and Freak.
Brandon, how would you say that in French?
Huh?
The actual title. How would you say that?
The movie title?
Yeah. The 3615 Code Père Noël.
Well, Père Noël, well, yeah.
Well, I don't know the French for 3615.
Let's see.
Well, Père Noël. Père Noël means Father Christmas.
Right.
Well, yeah.
So, just so the rest of you guys know. But yeah. Let's see. Let me bring up the IMDb page, so that I know what IMDb actually says about the film. Okay, and IMDb says, on Christmas Eve, a resourceful young boy has to defend himself and his grandfather from a killer dressed as Santa Claus. And the writer is, in fact, René Manzor. The stars are Bridget Fossey, Louis Decroix, or however you say it, Patrick Florsheim, among many others. So, going around the room. And I guess this movie is kind of known for being very, very similar to a 1990 film that we all know well. As Home Alone.
I would say Home Alone.
Yes.
Which I guess the director of this film said at one point in time he almost thought of suing for plagiarism, because he basically said, they just redid my movie.
I don't know. I don't know if this. So, by the way, guys, just good to see you all again. I don't know if this is true or not, but allegedly John Hughes said he wrote Home Alone while on vacation in Europe. So,
maybe. And there are some surface similarities, but they are very different films. So,
True.
You may have heard the basic concept and gone, "Ooh, that sounds fun."
Of course, there's that whole subplot about the family traveling to France.
Yeah.
Conspiracy.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. We should also note, Dave, you mentioned some of the main cast, but we should also note Alain Lalande, a.k.a. Alain Mouzy, who is actually the director's son, who plays our main character. Thomas is, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So, first impressions going around the room. Let's start with you, Forrest, since you haven't been on in a while. Was this a first time watch for you?
No, it isn't. First time I saw this was just I want to say maybe about a couple years ago when Joe Bob Briggs showed it on the last drive-in. It was the first time I'd ever heard of it. I gotta say, Home. I mean, this should probably be the ultimate Christmas movie. I mean, combining. It's like a proto. I mean, it's a proto. It's basically proto Home Alone. Just came out by about a year. Proto Home Alone combined with Silent Night, Deadly Night. Like two very unlikely, two iconic Christmas movies that would make an unlikely pairing here. But I like it. It's. I mean, yeah, you get So kids setting up booby traps on Christmas Eve to fend off intruders, killer Santa Claus. But also, I gotta say, it's got a very unique look to it. Well, because I was just rewatching it to get ready for tonight's episode. I really like the look. It's got a very unique look to it. It's like very, very storybook-esque, like the house, sets. So it adds that element of it adds that. That's a very fantastical.
I can definitely.
And there's also the kid. I
Go
mean,
ahead.
he's But and then also you got the kid. I mean, the main Tomas, the hero, the protagonist. He's upset. He's on one hand, he's like one part. He's not just Kevin, like sort of like the proto Kevin McAllister. He's also basically like a junior. He's also a junior Rambo.
Right.
He kind of takes it up a notch.
Right.
With like all the weapons and the headbands. But yeah, no, it's a very fun. But yeah, in the last couple of years, it's become a Christmas, a holiday must watch for me. It's a lot of what we've seen out of Christmas movies growing up. Like it got a very unique European flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So heading over to Tammy, I figure you're done with your first impressions there, Forrest, correct?
Yes.
Alrighty. Heading over to Tammy. Was this a first time watch for you?
Yes, it definitely was.
And what were your thoughts about it?
I like the kids' imagination and engine. He's not a dumb kid. I mean, I see what you guys are saying about the Home Alone aspect, except for this is a lot darker than that.
Slightly.
But but yeah, I thought it was interesting. The whole time you're totally rooting for the kid. So I got a really kick out of the house, though. It seemed really interesting. So, but
castle.
Yeah, but it seemed like there was so many different areas to it, But yeah, it was all right to watch.
Alrighty. What about you, Jake? Was this a first time watch for you?
This was definitely a first time watch for this one. It wasn't my first time hearing about it. I think Vinegar Syndrome put this out while Brandon and I were still doing our weekly previews of new stuff. Because I seem to remember us previewing this, and I think we saw it and said, well, that looks fun. And then I think he went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. But I have, it was what you were saying before the show. Vinegar Syndrome tends to be really far afield in terms of, I never even heard of that shit with most of their stuff. And they're so expensive. I've only placed one order so far, but this is on my short list of I may go for it. And having seen it now, I'm like, yeah, this would at least be as worth having as Six String Samurai was. But it's an interesting movie. It's very different. I can definitely see where the Home Alone connections are, but there also are some very different ones. I'm not as familiar with Silent Night, Deadly Night, but
Didn't we discuss that? I'm sorry, to interrupt you, but didn't we discuss that shit? Didn't we discuss that movie on here before?
I think you guys did that before.
Yes, we did. We also did the second one as well, if I remember correctly.
Garbage Day.
Yeah. Well, I remember that part. What was I going to say? It reminded me a little bit of Violent Night, although that one would have, it might have actually owed a debt of gratitude to this one. Who knows? But the thing is, this is a kid. I only got to scratch the surface of the bonus features, and that's one thing I'll give Vinegar Syndrome is they really go all in on that. But I watched a good chunk of an interview with the director, and that gave me a whole new appreciation for much of the film. But one thing that he pointed out was this is a kid who grew up on the 80s. Like he grew up on Rambo and stuff like that. So in a way, he was kind of commenting on children of the 80s. So I kind of I understood that. And I'm like, I can get that. And the weird thing is, this kid does have a wild imagination. And he does have a violent streak fed by all those 80s movies. But honestly, he comes across as less sociopathic than Kevin does. And of course, giving him a grandfather gives him a bit of sympathy there too. And the grandfather's a sweet old man. He's pretty nice. And then the whole thing with Santa, that quote unquote Santa. The idea of a kid who's at that age of struggling of whether Santa's real or not, and then he has to fend off a home invasion by Santa. It's a great idea. I love the concept. The execution was a bit muddled, and we'll get into that as we talk about it. But I love the concept. And yes, this house is a very memorable house. It's a very distinctive house, and
yet the wooden doors and the steel doors seem flimsy as all fuck. But we'll get into that.
Well, yeah. We'll get into it. Although, again, watching that thing with the director, I understand a lot of that. But one thing I do want to mention about that real quick, just in case I don't remember later. The guy that plays the invader, the so-called Santa, is played by Patrick Florsheim. I probably butchered that. But anyway, apparently at this point, he was best known as a voice actor who redubbed American films for the French audience. So the director specifically picked him to play a mostly physical role. And I'm like, I like that. That's a nice bit of contrarian casting. I'm very amused by it. But it does give an interesting flavor to it. But yeah, I like the movie. I appreciate it. I appreciate it more after watching that interview, and I'd like to go back and rewatch it one of these days. But yeah, it's,
okay.
A little different from last week's.
Alrighty, heading over to you, Brandon. Was this a first time watch for you?
No. As soon as Jake and I had done that What's Coming Out episode, I couldn't help but get that on the next Vinegar Syndrome Black Friday sale. Now, I wasn't able to watch it the year that it came out on Blu-ray like that, because I don't really like to watch Christmas films a lot unless it's come to that time of year, and it didn't get there until like February. So I watched it first the next year, and I mean that Vinegar Syndrome release has a beautiful cover. That thing was wild. So I've been watching it every year since then, and it's just been great. I enjoyed that. I don't know if you got what I was talking about, Jacob, when I was saying it earlier.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Home Alone crossed with the son of Rambo.
Oh, I get that. I didn't get your Lord of the Flies reference.
See that
Lord of the Flies being this kid was rabid and wild.
Yeah, maybe. But the son of Rambo, absolutely. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one. That's one that we should cover here one of these days.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Well, this was a first-time watch for me, although I've had a copy of it for at least a year. I ended up getting it secondhand from someone who had bought it and sold it to me. But I also know that it did show up here in Milwaukee as a screening, and I was going to go to it, but I didn't get the chance to. So I feel like it was a missed opportunity. But now that it's Christmas time again, I figured, what the heck? Might as well put this one forward. It was on my to-watch list, and this gives me a chance to sit down and watch it. And oftentimes, it feels better to watch a subtitled movie when you have a reason to watch it. So then it's almost like, okay, focus now, read it, and then get what you want out of it. And I'm glad that I did. It does very much have some Home Alone vibes, but with the mother being involved with the mall aspect, gave me like a Miracle on 34th Street vibe. Just a little bit because of her aspect in it, except she's the one that's like head honcho and whatnot, and she's getting ready for like some kind of like huge event and whatnot. And even the Santa, even the main invader, ends up dressing up as Santa Claus. So to me, that's like partial Miracle on 34th Street. So
I never picked up on that until you brought it up.
But then of course you get the kid. He's got the Rambo outfit, the face paint. Definitely Rambo vibes there. I see the Lord of the Flies-ness in it too, and whatnot. But his world that he's built in this house, especially with the one that secret room that his toys and his father's and grandfather's toys were all in. Well, to me, that kind of reminded me of like Little Nemo in Slumberland. I don't know if you remember that the cartoon called Little Nemo. Kind of reminded me of a little bit of that world, just a little bit. But and of course, yeah, I mean, I really love the relationship between the boy and the grandfather. I liked that aspect of it, and I think this movie is going to begin to grow on me. So, Tammy, whether you want to watch it with me or not, I'm probably going to watch it in the future. But in any case, let us get down to the plot. So, the main invader character. He comes into, I guess, town during a classic snow fight between children. And the minute he starts to pick up a snowball and start, doing what the other kids are doing, they all have to leave. And he's got a sad look on his face. And I guess that's when you begin, you are then, it goes from him to starting to show Tomas and his so-called fort within this mansion that he lives in with his mom. And my God, that mansion is something else. It had a huge exercise room and spa and stuff like castle. That. Yeah, basically.
What's the McAllister
part
house
of it looked like, part of it looked like it was like old woodwork and whatnot, and then of course when the Santa Claus ended up like bursting through doors that you would have thought would have kept him out, did not. It was like a different contrast, because then it made me feel like, okay, I guess with all the money that can buy everything, it didn't buy doors that could keep someone out. And yet it had the same type of capability that the asylum had in, I hate to say this, the not the 13 Ghosts, but what was that? With Vincent Price.
13 Ghosts?
House on Haunted Hill.
House on Haunted Hill, yeah.
House on Haunted Hill. House on Haunted Hill. The second one, the remake, had the asylum where it had the windows that shut over each other and whatnot, and locked them all in. Well, I love the fact that that this kid could like command this shit on his wrist, even though all of that computer technology, it looks old as fuck, it really does.
But very advanced for the 80s.
Yeah, it is old as fuck considering.
For the 80s,
considering it's the 80s.
It's definitely aged. It's definitely aged some.
Well,
at least as far as
actually, the title comes from that 3615. It comes from this thing that he was doing, that he was using this almost like a proto-internet, not really an internet, but like it was apparently this thing where you would use it to retrieve information or to contact people. And he was using it supposedly to contact Santa. But the director in his interview was talking about how it was easy to mess up the code, and you think you're doing one thing and you're actually doing something very different. And it was, and it's also
and his best friend, what's his name? I forget his name.
Galore or something.
He was kind of I don't know, a dingus, but I guess he kind of came somewhat around in the end when he actually showed up at his house.
It's interesting how they have these kiosks where you can just chat like that out in the open.
Right. And that's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Like apparently they would use that like I feel like I was reading the director was saying like you get the code wrong and you're accidentally talking to someone that's not a child-friendly site, if you know. But one thing I do want to mention, Dave, you were talking about there were times where it seemed kind of cheap, and you talk about all the things money can buy and whatever. According to the interview, the director was not in a position to command a large budget when he made this film. Apparently, he made a more or less single stage movie largely for budgetary reasons. And if there were times where it came off a little fake, they probably just didn't have the funding at that moment for the more solid alternative. But, you know,
understandable.
Yeah.
Just, I would have thought that if I get it that you need a Santa Claus that just keeps on going and going and going, like the like the Energizer Bunny, but
Jason.
like Jason or something like that. But I would have thought that at least one of those things would have at least slowed him down a little bit.
With Harry and Marv.
Well, yeah. It's like that honest
that's
action.
my only.
Marv is dead.
That's my only pet peeve with it, you know. Otherwise, everything looks great, you know.
Yeah.
Gosh, there was that movie that I was watching with Kim last night. It was one of the Shudder originals that didn't do that well. It's Christmas something. It's about like it's that one where I think Christmas Bloody Christmas, which you had the Terminator as Santa Claus going around and killing people, and that one really wouldn't quit. Now that one also has
I think I still need to watch the.
That's one that a lot of people didn't end up liking, but to me, I think to myself, if you look at it for what it was, which was basically just a slaughter fest, it worked out very well for that. Because that's what it was. It was a full-on freaking slaughter fest with a Terminator Santa going around and killing people.
Okay.
But that's a
if
Santa.
I remember correctly, that was also an independent feature too.
Yes.
So
I think most
it's on
but the young Tomas going. So we have the young Tomas going around, and I guess he's got all kinds of trap. The dog, but he ends up. Evidently, there's a hallway where he has a trap door set up, and he just these games, and he ends up trapping his dog in this net, and at the end of it, and I guess he talks into a walkie-talkie, which I guess he's got some radio thing playing in the background, and all throughout he's jumping over the bed in which his grandfather is sleeping. I think it's hilarious that he just keeps on sleeping. And it's not until his mom actually says something, and when the grandfather actually wakes up, and the grandfather's not mad at all. He's amused by his grandson. In fact, he literally handcuffs him and drags him down to the kitchen table. What do y'all think about the young Tomas and his grandfather?
His grandfather's a chill old dude.
Yeah.
He cares for his daughter and grandson.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely.
Well, and his grandfather, he has poor eyesight, so they show that his eyesight is fuzzy as hell heck.
I would say he's a diabetic.
Yeah, he's also a diabetic, so his health is not the greatest. Which kind of plays into some of the plot line later on, but his mother has to go into work because evidently she's head honcho of her computer building enterprise, I guess.
Sounds a toy company, I
Yeah,
believe.
toy company.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when she's talking with that somewhat lover/partner, he basically says something to the fact that, well, your son doesn't know that you've been you built your way from being a computer software company to being in charge of this place or something like that. At least that's what I gathered. So, but she's basically there to work through the Christmas Eve to capitalize on the moment, and she wants this event to be exciting and whatnot. And not she wants the whole shebang, the whole enchilada.
Right.
In the setting up, she wants fire eater. She wants Santa Claus. So, I believe the character that we see kind of just floating into town, and he shows up at the place that she works and gets hired as a Santa Claus. And of course, there is a little girl who evidently walks up to him and basically kind of does the miracle on 34th thing. Oh, you're not real. Your beard's not real. Let's try to pull it.
Well, in fairness, it was about the fakest, most unconvincing Santa beard there ever was.
Yeah, beard over a beard.
Exactly. He's got this big, bushy, dark brown beard, and then he's got this really sad one over top of it. It's like, I think most kids.
But if you were taught anything, you were taught to not be rude as a kid. So
these are French kids.
These are Santa Claus just because you think it's fake, But the kid was a little rude. He snapped and he basically hit her a couple of times, and that's when Tomas's mother comes over, grabs the child, and fires him on the spot.
Yeah,
and he goes. Yeah, he goes and reports to personnel, but he overhears that lover / I would have to say part company owner talking about sending evidently toys over to the home in which the lady who just fired him actually lived. So I guess he kind of goes down to the shipping area, and I guess he hops on the truck without us seeing him, and once they get to the mansion, the dude hops out the truck, opens up the back, and is grabbed, and then I guess you could say killed. And then apparently the truck went to the caretaker entrance, which he shows up and tells them to shh when they're talking about the presents, and that's the last you see of them, at least until the kid goes in later to find the diabetic materials for his grandfather. Now, up until this point, is there anything that anyone wants to say about what's all that goes on? Brandon, did you have anything to say about all of that?
Well, it's interesting because he hitches a ride basically on this truck that is carting the kids' Christmas presents to him, and where the mother just hands the list to the guy and says, "Okay, go find everything on the list and give it to him."
Right.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is this kid is way spoiled, but and of course that's how he gets there is because he overhears it, and he's mad and wants that revenge because he was fired.
Well,
from being Santa, which he really wanted to play.
Well, I don't know, Brandon. I don't know if you watched this or not. Like, the director had a really interesting take on it, and I liked what he had to say. Essentially, the idea was he said that he saw this guy as a mentally challenged individual who was in that opening scene. He's playing with the kids or trying to play with the kids, and they all run off because, ooh, scary old man. And he doesn't really know how to cope with that. And then, he wants to be Santa. And I'll admit, before I saw the interview, watching the movie, one of my big frustrations was, what the hell is this guy's deal? So I guess maybe it's meant to be ambiguous, or maybe the director thought it would be more obvious, and maybe, I don't know. But the idea was that he apparently, in his developmentally challenged mindset, saw being Santa as a way to be loved and important to others, I guess you could say. And he saw this as a chance to become Santa. And the whole time I was watching, I was like, what the hell why is he there? Like, revenge doesn't really work. Being there as a thief doesn't really work. But if he's there because he wants to be Santa, it makes a lot more sense. So, yeah, I think that's I'm inclined to think that is the best read on it, because the others just don't hold up as well.
He's just a bum who donned the Santa suit and found that he enjoyed walking around as the jolly good Saint Nick.
But
he has the mind of a child to want. Go ahead.
I said essentially he was just cosplaying before there was a word for it.
In a sense, although again, I feel like he was more like actually trying to become the role than play the role.
Kind of like Christmas, like I would say Christmas Evil.
Yeah,
you guys.
I think that's a good thing for your Christmas Evil or your Silent Night, Deadly Night connection.
Yeah.
Really.
And now, of course, in terms of the way he goes about it, suddenly I'm reminded of Peacemaker's line from the Suicide Squad, where he said, "I love peace with all my heart, and I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to kill to get it." And it's appropriate because the kid, I was looking at his credits. He had 2 roles with his father, and then maybe the third one, I didn't see if that was with his father or not, but he had only 3 child acting credits. And then 10 years later, he came back doing visual effects. And among other things, he worked on the Suicide Squad, along with the Batman and Edge of Tomorrow, and an interesting assortment of films. It's like, that's a unusual career trajectory, but more power to him. But yeah, I was intrigued by the way the director put that, because honestly, when I was watching this, I was like, what the hell is this guy's deal? It just did not gel for me. I was like, he had so many opportunities to catch or kill that kid. He had so many opportunities to, if he was there to rob the place, he could have easily done it. He kills the delivery driver, he kills the caretakers, he kills the dog. He doesn't mind killing. It's weird, but
I mean, one of the more poignant scenes in it was where you see him. He's got the kid dead to rights towards the end, and then he goes, "All right, I cut you. Now it's my turn to hide." You're saying it like it was a hide and seek game.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, yeah, I do think that what you had said, I mean, again, I never got to listen to the commentary, but I think what you're going on about
falls into the which I guess falls into the title that it had been called of hide and seek.
So yeah, I think that that
games even factors into that.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially with him, because he's got that childlike mind. I do think that he was angered that he was let out. I do think there was a portion of revenge in it, just because of how he handled it. But I don't think he could process it appropriately. So definitely he had a screw loose. So I think that much at least we know.
But on the other side of the spectrum, we've got a little Tomas, who I guess he's like one of the only boys that's in his vicinity that still believes in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and all the goblins and stuff like that. And I thought it was kind of interesting that while he was home alone, he was playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, we almost added that to our thing, but it was such a small scene. And he didn't save the world. He didn't save the camp by playing Dungeons and Dragons, so I decided not to.
I did. I bet Brandon is a frequent GM. I wonder how much it hit you in the old heart there. To hear that he was, Grandpa, you finally leveled up. What do you mean finally? Well, we've been playing for 2 years and you were still level 1.
Yeah. That was Grandpa was a very slow study, but it's all right. We forgive Grandpa.
But another thing that Tomas seems to be readying himself for is he has taken his computer and hacked into the video cameras that are within the home so that he can record when Santa Claus comes in down either down the chimney or into the house at all. And he thinks that he can record it all from his wrist.
Yeah,
that Santa Claus actually exists.
Because Pilo has been such a jerk about it, and he wants to prove to him that, hey, you're wrong and I'm right.
You gotta wonder if he had actually decided to just go to bed and they were just in the bed, would the killer have killed him in his sleep? Now, that's a question, because I'm not sure. Because if the killer just wanted to do Santa, he just put out the presents and then left. But then again, I felt like there was something more to it than that.
Again, I think he wanted at least one kid to see him as Santa. I think that was a big part of it. I think I don't think he expected the dog to be as barksome or as feisty, or to even have that kind of the danger exist for him when he dropped down that chimney, though.
Well, we know that we know that comes all too well with the unfortunate part of going into any type of house or trying to go through stuff. Well, maybe we don't all know that. We don't all break into houses. But only some.
Of course, we didn't get Tim Allen. Of course, we didn't get Tim Allen in his line. What did it feel like, Dad? I felt like America's Most Wanted. In any case.
Well, I doubt he would have been America's Most Wanted, but
France's Most Wanted.
Exactly. It's like last week where Sam's like, it's the American way. Sam, British way.
British
way.
But in any case, I guess this so-called Santa actually takes the pie cutter and stabs the dog.
What do y'all think about him finding that spray on snow and spraying his hair and doing that?
Oh, he was having a blast.
Oh yeah, it was a fun.
Helped his brain cells though. What food he had?
Yeah, I'm sure whiffing those fumes
he was
probably
giggling all the way through.
Huffing those fumes probably didn't help him with the.
Oh, he probably inhaled some laughing gas before he did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, he sprayed himself to look so that he looked older, and you know, it still kind of, you know, kind of humps me when I think about when his grandfather and him ended up going to that car, and he smashed his head into the windshield and smashes his hands all over the car. Yeah. And you could tell that he was a very small man, and yet he can emit a lot of violence on that vehicle.
Yeah,
that vehicle was dented in.
Well, let me tell you, I know for a fact the damage a human being, if they are not in their right mind, can inflict upon a car. Mm-hmm. I have seen the aftermath of somebody busting in 5 windshields with their skull. So I know it can be done. And I also know what that human being looked like afterwards. And I can tell you that that was not a pretty sight. But but the human being was still alive. So it can definitely be done. If you were crazy enough.
Right. And I guess a lot of it would depend on like how determined are you? Yeah. How inured to pain are you? How you know, there are a lot of factors there. I could definitely see him powering through it, just, you know, almost because he doesn't even know better in some ways. I could almost see that. Speaking of pain, how many times that poor kid go outside in bare feet in the snow? I'm like, he must have had frostbite after all this.
Yeah, there's a nice contrast if you notice, like where he is at the beginning. It looks like he's walking along the edge of the roof when he's just walking along the walkway outside. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the later time, he did have to walk along the edge of the roof.
Yeah.
That poor kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely had to go through a lot in this this movie. Right. First and foremost, he had to watch his dog die. And
I mean, yeah, we got.
Now this is an '80s movie because there are some slow moments where they make it so slow that you almost feel like you're watching the $6 million man. You know,
you definitely got to appreciate that scene because it's like, again, this kid, he's like desperately hoping to find proof of Santa, and he actually sees a rope come down the chimney, and then he sees the boots, and he's hiding under the table, and all you're seeing is his vantage point. You see the boots. And you see, and then suddenly the dog comes in and just attacks the intruder, as a dog will do. And in this, you see the kid's vantage point as he watches his dog murdered in front of him.
Well,
and it's like,
and I think I like that scene too at first because it's almost like you're seeing the vantage point of the child's fantasy.
Yeah.
At first, because there's a light that happens behind the boots and the red suit and everything, and he's starting to break into a smile and a sense of awe, and then suddenly the dog comes in and ruins everything.
And the lighting changes, because Santa killed my dog.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be upset too if
Yeah.
If I saw Santa kill my dog.
According to Manzor, he was Santa's double for that scene. And they did it in one take because he's like, if we can't do it in one take, the dog will get wise to it and we won't be able to do it again. And so apparently they pulled it off pretty well. So, more power to them for that. But
and right after that scene is where he goes, and I think he wakes up his grandfather and takes him through that refrigerator wardrobe area, and they go to the garage because just like not too long before, I guess he'd fixed that car, so that it could run, and they also evidently did a drive around the park or something like that.
Didn't Grandpa say something like "no speeding this time" or something like
that?
Yeah, and it's not like he would be able to see the speeding really at any given point in time. So to tell him to stop,
it makes you wonder though if the kid's gotten tickets before.
Well, he's definitely used to spinning around the yard, but this kid is like a prodigy. I mean, he's sitting there repairing old cars, creating like computer devices, hacking things. He's just
he's definitely Inspector Gadget. He's definitely MacGyver, sort of. With technology. But I mean, he asks his grandfather to give him a 12 wrench, so but in any case, he gets
MacGyver wouldn't need a specific wrench. He would have just asked for a toothpick and some chewing gum.
Right?
Yeah, maybe a paper clip.
Right.
Right.
MacGyver's one of those I've always heard about, yet never seen a single episode of.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, I used to watch that show all the time as a kid.
Yeah.
Here too.
I saw a few episodes.
And I don't think there was ever an episode he wasn't able to get out of.
Well, he'd be a very poor hero if he didn't. It's like, oh well, he died. End of series.
Well, I guess that's one of the things that people have always been disappointed in is the fact that his life was never really in any danger. At the end of the day, even though they put him in danger and in tough spots and situations, he always came out on top. And they would have some would have wanted him to at least fail or whatnot. And I don't think he ever did in the original show. So, but in any case, that's neither here nor there. Back to the film. So, so we have the grandfather and grandson attacked in the car, and then of course they realize they have to go back through, and I do believe
that's when they go hiding in that secret room that he says was like, I think he said his father and his grandfather had their toys were like collected in this room, And in a way, it's like the room of misfit toys, It's
Well, yeah. It's kind of like passed down through generation to generation. And I actually kind of like that aspect of it. And the fact that they went through that fridge door opening kind of messed with the invader's head for a moment, because he was like, okay, where the fuck did we go?
Yeah,
because that looks like a freezer or a fridge. In fact,
I believe he said he made that passage with his father, right? Or like,
I think so.
Yeah, and also I remember the mother saying, stop putting holes in the house.
Right.
So definitely been digging out passages and stuff.
Yeah.
This house has a lot of secret stuff going on in it.
Well, even so, like there's that scene later where he straight gets lost, like the kid gets lost.
Oh yeah,
and it's like it's that massive. And again, I'm always reminded of other stuff. I'm like reminded of the line in Indiana Jones where they're talking about Brody. He got lost in his own museum. It's like, it's kind of like this kid.
Well, I mean, that place. I mean, it even had an art museum in it, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Which I think the art museum was part of that maze, wasn't it? That he got lost in, because there was all kinds of art pieces on the walls while he was.
It did look like a gallery, yeah. But it even looked like there was a big portrait on the floor.
Well, he started to figure out that that the dude was messing with him. Every time he tried to find a phone, he was on the other end of the line. When he thought he had in fact, even when he had caught him in that trap door with the net, he went. That's when he went through the maze and went up the stairs and through the attic, and dude was there. It's like, what the fuck,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like a cat and mouse game at the end of it, because leaving him in that secret room, and then of course he through the walkie-talkie doing some kind of radio drama western thing to lure him into that spa area, because that's what he was doing. He was helping, and I thought that that actually would have stopped him for a little bit, but he made sure that steel door came off its hinge fairly quickly.
He had that crazy strength.
But yeah, also he came and found the grandfather in that secret room, but thankfully, I guess he grabbed him in through the wardrobe entrance, which also messed with the invaders' sense of, okay, where the heck did they go to, kind of a thing. And I do love how how the kid goes over the loudspeakers and is like, "You've messed with the wrong dude. You don't know this house, and I'm going to make sure that that I'm going to scare you like nothing else." Basically,
it's my house. I have to protect it.
It's like that moment in The Faculty. Please report to the principal's office.
I've never seen that one either.
I have seen that.
Okay. It surprises me how many you haven't.
Yeah.
But in any case,
back in the day.
Well, that's the thing is I didn't like horror movies as a child, so I missed a lot of the classic ones that I probably would have watched as a child. So yeah, but then again, you never know. I see some obscure stuff, but then there's some things that everybody else has seen, and I'm like, what? I know I hadn't seen it. Oh, well. But yeah, I liked the sauna thing. You felt like it was almost free, but nope. And meanwhile, Mother is like racing down over the ice at full speed back. I was waiting for that crash to happen long before it happened.
She kept trying to get a hold of him, and nothing ever worked. She crashed, and you thought that she might actually go over the edge, and then the lubber man sees the note. I guess goes on his way, finds her, and I guess finally at the end of everything, they show up in the nick of time, I guess, or not in the nick of time, like after everything had already happened. But that's neither here nor there.
Is it me or most of these types of films? They tend to depict the boyfriend as a terrible guy and all of that, but in this one, he really didn't seem like that bad a guy. No. He was just a guy, and he was there like, yeah, let's help him get his Christmas presents and let's do all this stuff, and I was like, yeah, great.
Yeah, and this was something that was also mentioned in the interview. He was meant to be basically just the guy in the movie, like he was meant to be sort of a bridge between the characters who are really, really, really involved in the film and the characters who are he's just kind of there, So yeah, let's see here.
Yep. So ultimately, there's a moment where the grandfather evidently hides himself in a suit of armor, but he starts going into diabetic shock, and kid has to go and try to find an insulin needle for him. In the regular spot, there were boxes and boxes of them, but he couldn't find anything. And I guess it was a little bit before this that the kid had taken a firecracker, stripped it, put the gunpowder in a grenade, and then strapped the grenade to a. And I thought this was brilliant at first, because I thought it might have actually worked. He stuck it to a choo-choo train, and it wound up the choo-choo train, and the thing was supposed to explode. But Santa and all his craziness was so crazy that evidently he realized something was wrong, and he wound it back up and sent it back the other way. And evidently the kid just watched it roll by, and evidently it rolled close to his grandfather, and where he was inside the suit of armor, and he tried to reach for it. The Santa invader decided to hold him back from it, and of course it got lit, and once it went to the grenade area, it did not explode. There was another moment right before that I guess he was searching in the boiler room, and he was hiding under the floors, which kind of reminds me a little bit of Star Wars. Just by the fact of him lighting a dart I guess, and lighting the floor, and the look on that Santa invader's face was priceless. But evidently that didn't stop him. So this unstoppable energizer Santa invader continues onwards. And then I guess that's when he figured out how to. I guess there is a way that you can control the gate. That he had made sure that they were all locked inside. He found a way on the outside of the place to open the gates. So he opened the gates, and his friend, his best friend, Pio or whatever his name is, got that that, and this is something that I'm not sure. Okay, I think they're still around, but they're not as used as much anymore. Fax machine. I guess he faxed over a message to both his mom and his friend, and his buddy got the message. I guess he showed up on bicycle, and as soon as he showed up, he was like, "Run! Get out of here! Get going!"
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure whether that kid. I think that kid actually escaped, but he did fall down a couple of times. What do y'all think? Did he escape?
I think he got out. There's a window, like a truck went by while the guy was in pursuit, and he had to give up after.
Okay, yeah, because that Santa was actually running his ass off after that kid. Again, I thought he was going to get him. You know,
He came close.
But I guess he came back, and while this was all going on, the kid had actually run over to the caretaker's house, found an insulin thing, but then he realized Santa was after him, so he ran outside. I think he tripped over the body. That's right. A police officer actually showed up, and I was thinking to myself, okay, where is his backup? You know, but the kid trips over the dead body of the cop, realizes the gun is there, holds it up, points it at the Santa invader, and he can't pull the trigger at that moment because he wants to ask it. I guess he's wondering why. You know, why are you doing this? You know, and dude doesn't have an answer. I guess because he doesn't have dialogue enough in the movie to say anything. But
it's right. They didn't want to pay him. They didn't want to pay him to deliver lines, so that's why he has no. Well,
right.
You kind of sped through quite a few scenes there, and I want to mention that on my first viewing, one of the issues I had with this is that some of the scenes, it seems very weird. Like, you know, you have this scene in the boiler room where the kid catches him on fire, and later he's showing more and more injury, but I don't know, are they meaning like that it seems like that the burns are just showing up more later? Because it seems like a weird progression to me. I don't know. But also that scene with the father and the grenade, with the grandfather, with the grenade, that whole scene, I really felt like they probably, I almost felt like the editing got messed up and that some of the scenes were out of order. Did anyone else get that feeling?
maybe just a little bit. It's almost like, okay, they slapped it together at the end and had to finish it, and yet they had all the scenes filmed. You know, so I guess you could technically, if you really wanted to, edit it your own damn self and put it in not so much of a staccato type of way, and then, you know, go about your merry business. Or you could just watch it like it is and still enjoy the wild ride that it is.
I mean, I guess, like, if you're thinking about it in that sense of, like, this is not meant to be taken as an actual literal, this is what's happening, so much as is a more like a French allegorical kind of artsy thing, then I guess the order could seem nonsensical. But if we were looking at it in the way Home Alone would be put together, for example, if you put those scenes out of order, you're going to notice, and it's going to be freaking weird. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm just wondering, did anyone else have that vibe? Because I really was lost for some of these sequences. You know? I don't know.
Well,
maybe it was just me. I don't know.
Okay, did the grandfather die? I couldn't remember from my last viewing, and it wasn't clear from my viewing this time.
I don't think he did.
He did not die.
Yeah.
He, at the end of every thing, he was out cold. And when he stuck him with the insulin, he woke up after a couple of fist pumpings.
Right.
And then at the end there, the guy that was just in the film to be the guy, actually was sitting there helping him up while the kid was in shock. So
makes sense. But yeah, so that's basically my 2 cents on it. But it is a weird edit, I will agree, but I chalk it down to French eccentricity. And you know, because the film has a very trippy vibe. And there were at times I was reminded almost of the way, I know one weird film that is weird to come up in my thoughts when watching this, but Legend, for some reason, came up in my thought process because of the weird imagery and the...
Well, I would almost say that this is almost, especially with the cat and mouse scenes, almost on the edge of being like a French giallo film. I know that they are known for being more of Italian descent, but there are a lot of stocky films in the giallo aspect of things. So I imagine that the director had definitely been influenced by films like Dario Argento's, Suspiria, or films of that nature with, in that genre. So a lot of those came out in the 70s.
And actually, this is one thing, like, I think if y'all get the chance, those of you that own this, it might be fun to look at that interview. According to René Manzor, he had previously done a film called The Passage with Alain Delon, I think was his name. Alain Delon. Anyway, he apparently was a big star. And apparently the film was something of a success in France. And according to Manzor, he was in exile for 3 years. It's one of the reasons they had such a low budget on this film, because his first film was a success. According to him, at the time in France, if you did the cardinal sin of having a commercially popular film, you were trash and the critics hated you. And then on top of that, he wanted to do a genre film. He called this straight up a genre film. Like he wanted to do it is a horror-ish film, which is a genre film, and the critics famously are rough on horror. And I don't know if Giallo was in his mind, but he definitely was thinking, horror genre. And so he really was swinging for the fences with this one to make the film he wanted to make on the limited budget he was allowed by not being given due deference because he had made the sin of doing a successful film. It's just I was like, this is a really fascinating way of looking at filmmaking.
So I guess
I do think that those two statues that you have showing here were unique to the film.
What's that?
Well,
yeah,
I do think that these
was
done by Charles Band. They would have been fighting at one point in the film.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I do believe I know the actor Alan Dillon from a version of Zorro that he played. But
Zorro, huh?
other than that, yeah. But in any case, I think we're counting down to the end and nearing production. So he does, in fact, shoot the Santa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes.
Well, Grandpa does, I believe.
His grandfather.
Yeah, isn't it Grandpa that shoots the Santa? Yeah, I remember that right.
Yeah, but his vision of a line sight was fuzzy as fuck. So,
the kid finishes him off.
that was like a moment where you had to wonder whether the kid was shot or the Santa was shot, and of course they showed that the Santa was shot and the kid was in shock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was in complete shell shock.
But yeah, I do think that Jake had a great segue into production.
Yeah.
When you're talking about the costs and such.
Right.
Yep. So let's talk about it. Production.
Well, again, this is an impressive looking house, even if maybe the contractor skimped on the materials.
Well, I love the house. It's I mentioned this earlier, but it's very fairy tale-esque.
Yeah, definitely.
It does come across. It makes the movie come across as what I feel like he was going for.
Yeah,
which was a dark fairy tale, which was a true fairy tale, which most of those are dark as nails.
Mm-hmm.
A true Brothers Grimm, if you will.
Yes. I can see that.
I mean,
Tammy,
look
what
at
did
those
you think of
statues.
production?
That's all the budget right there.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and actually, I think I've made the argument before that that's one of the reasons why I have absolutely no problem whatsoever with the artificiality of The Princess Bride. Because if you look at it as a storybook story, as a fairy tale being told to a kid, then yeah, it can look as fake as hell, but it works for the story, So it's like, if that's the way you look at this one, then it doesn't matter if parts of it look a little rough around the edges. Yeah.
Okay.
On the other hand, you
What do
also
you
have fairy tales where the detail is a phenomenal part of it, like Pan's Labyrinth. But, that's a different sort of fairy tale. But similar in some ways. But
So, Tammy, what did you think about production overall? You're on mute, Tammy. Oh, I guess we've lost her for a moment.
okay.
But
one random production thing that goes to the Frenchness of the film is the opening shot. You see a snow globe, and it's like this sort of wintry scene with the Eiffel Tower, and it's kind of, and then suddenly it's crushed by a garbage truck going overhead. And the director mentions that was 100% intentional. It's like the movie in a microcosm. And I'm like, okay, that's a very French way to start the film, but I like it.
Well, I definitely thought the house was unique with all its nooks and crannies and room with the wardrobe, which gave me some Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe vibes.
Yeah, I was just thinking that passage was like Narnia.
Yeah. So, I do like the maze and the little bit of a toy Lost Boys room. The overall production actually looked pretty darn good as far as anything. And the gadgets, oh my God, the gadgets the kid had, some of those were spot on, like some pretty cool stuff, even though a lot of it was in the beginning was fake.
Yeah.
You still had a good idea about making sure that he planted something on Weka, like he had a was right near him when he was looking at the insulin, and it was just in fact a tank had his target thing on it, kind of like a ha you can't track me anymore moment. So yeah, production looked great. Great to me. Anyone else on production? The music. There were a couple of main songs that were in the movie. I guess one of what did y'all think about the it was Merry Christmas, and it was performed by Bonnie Tyler. And then, of course, the Midnight Special played in the police car.
Right.
Music. Let's see. I went in to see who did the music. The music was actually put together by Jean Felix Lalane. And they've done quite a few things. Looking at what they've done, An Angel for Chloe, A Witch's Way of Love, Tales of the Wild.
And he co-wrote that song with his brother Francis, and the two of them are René Manzor's brothers, apparently. his brother Francis is apparently a famous singer in France, and helped finance the first film, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I don't know why Manzor has a different name. If he just decided, I like Manzor better. I don't know. But yeah.
But yeah, I definitely thought that the Bonnie Tyler song was something definitely an interesting song to play. But there was a song that was playing earlier in the movie that I don't think was credited on IMDb. I wish I would have known that one.
Yeah.
But in any case, I guess we're down to favorite scenes and our favorite characters. So let's start with you, Forrest. Favorite scene and or favorite characters or scenes.
Oh man, favorite scene? I would probably say when Thomas has that train with the grenade on it, the arm with the grenade. Also the trapdoor. That was good. That was pretty awesome. Favorite character? Tomas. He's living. He's a small. He's. In some ways, I feel like he's a lot like a lot of what we were at his age, but he's also like more like he's imaginative, he's smart, and he's badass, and he kicks ass.
Alrighty, heading over to you, Tammy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about production, and then go into your favorite scenes and or favorite characters?
I thought the production was was good. I mean, I liked how they just showed all the different areas of the house, well, castle house. So and the kids his that outfit with all he had with all this his warrior thing. I thought that was really neat how that was set up. Um, and didn't really seem like the stunts and things like that were far fetched. It seemed like they were for real, not like not like yet a lot of the um what I want to say. No, not a lot of CGI and all that stuff in it. So I like the production because of that, especially
Okay.
because I like. So, um, favorite scene? Hmm.
Or scenes.
Yeah, I know. It's just he some of the things that he comes up with that he gets it with are pretty good.
Yeah.
um,
What's one that sticks out for you?
I guess when he started him on fire, that was a good one.
Okay. And did you have a favorite character in here?
Yeah, I always forget the name. The kid,
Tomas.
Tomas. I knew it was something like that.
Alrighty. Heading over to you, Jake. Why don't you tell us favorite scene and or favorite characters?
Favorite scene, arguably, might have been the scene where the kid watches Santa, sees Santa for the first time, and then watches Santa kill his dog. Like, it just, you're watching a kid's entire world get crushed. And I mean, I don't say I love that, but like the way it was done, I thought was really effective. And it was probably the single most effective sequence in the movie, I think. Some of the scenes were fun, like some of the traps that he pulled and that kind of thing. Although certainly, maybe it was because I thought that part of the movie was so muddled, I didn't get nearly the thrill out of that I did out of the Home Alone movies, for example. I think I'm going to have to say that scene probably stood out the most for me. And at least it was a dog and not a cat, but no.
Hey, I'm a dog person. Hey, I'm a dog person here.
You said only half seriously. No, anyway. As far as the characters, I did just have a random thought, and someone I've seen at least one person compare the movie as well to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And one thing just randomly occurred to me that fully makes that comparison worth it. And that is the grandfather here is Grandpa Joe. I mean, it's basically the same character and the same role in the story. And it's similar in that it's an immensely likable character that really doesn't have any depth to them. So I can't say Grandpa's my favorite, but he kind of is, if that makes sense. And the kid, Tomas, is a really interesting kid. He's a cool kid, but he's a bit too whiny for me at times. I almost prefer Kevin's sociopathy. And then we have our home invader, who is probably the most interesting character, but because I didn't really understand his motivations the first time around, I don't know. I don't have a clear-cut favorite, but it would probably be between those three for very different reasons for each one. Yeah.
Okay. Heading over to you, Brandon. Favorite scene or scenes and our favorite character or characters?
Well, my favorite scene is the scene with the train. Because it just really amps up the tension there when that train is coming towards. He winds it up and does almost a Roadrunner thing where it comes right back at him. It's also kind of cool when you see that with the childlike nature of it. I will go with my favorite character being Santa himself, because really and truly he would not have been it would not have been nearly as intense a movie without him.
Right. The actor did a great job with the role. There was no question. Yeah.
Alrighty. And I'm in between three characters, the same three characters you are, Jake, I believe. You said Santa for various reasons, Grandpa. There's something likable about the grandfather. The fact that he seems to have actually played these war games with his grandson for many, many years, you know, and vice versa. And the kid, well, he's just a regular genius. I mean, he's coming. I mean, he can fix a car for the age that he is. I wouldn't say whiny, but definitely more emotional.
He falls into that.
Than Kevin was.
He falls into that frustrating trope of the protagonist who is paralyzed by inaction for much of the film. That's yeah. That frustrates me. It just always
Well, he's a kid. You expect him to be
Yeah.
a stone cold fucking killer?
No,
You want him to
I
be.
do.
You want him
Kevin.
to be Stallone throughout the entire movie, don't you? You want him to give that Terminator primal scream.
No,
Don't
but
you?
it's the same issue I have with Luke Skywalker. It's the same issue I have with Saya in Blood Plus. You know, I just get frustrated after a
How
while.
old is this kid
Yeah.
supposed to be? Isn't this kid like 7 or 8 or something
Yeah,
like that?
and I'll give him that. I'll
Eight.
give him that.
Yeah, he's a bit young.
But
They can't all be Kevin McAllister.
he's a bit. Well, no, we can't always be. I don't give a fuck. My parents are not home. I'm going to have fucking fun. You know. Keep the change, you filthy animals. But in any case, well, me, I like them three. I get a kick out of dude spray painting his hair and giggling like a little schoolgirl.
Yeah, that was a good scene too.
It was amusing. But I do enjoy that moment of realization. Okay, Santa just killed my dog. Moment. It's not that I wanted the dog to die, but it was executed fairly reasonably. You know.
It's also the kind of you don't expect in a film, so it has a little bit of shock value.
Oh, it's a dream killer, that's for sure. But in any case, I guess one of my favorite scenes would probably be, I hate to say this, but the train scene. I do enjoy that one. But I also enjoy the moment when he's in the maze and goes up the stairs and Santa has escaped the spa. And he's like there and he's like, now what are you going to do? So, but yeah, those are some of my favorite scenes. And I think the initial trapping the dog game scene that he, his mom might be rich, he might live in a mansion, and his family might actually have some money, but he doesn't seem to have that many friends to play with. So, I thought by making all those booby traps and playing with himself, he was doing a darn good job at having fun while doing it, you know.
And this is a good example, illustration of how spoiled and doted on he was. I think most people's parents would frown upon them building a trap door booby trap in their front hallway.
Well, I mean, Mother did say stop digging holes in the house. It took a while, but she did do that.
Right.
I mean, it takes a while before you start moving away.
What's that?
Well, at the end of the day, I hope you as an audience have enjoyed our discussion on this film. I certainly did. Glad that we got you, Forrest, back on. Thank you for coming.
Yeah,
and
but
let's go around and tell everyone a little bit about ourselves and what we do. Starting with you, Forrest. Go ahead and tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right, I'm Forrest Bennett. I am an actor producer based in the New York area. I do background. I've been doing background work on shows like Law and Order and Blue Bloods and the upcoming season of Daredevil on Disney Plus. And that's pretty much what I've been up to. That's pretty much what I've been up to lately. That's what I've been up to lately since I stepped away from here.
All right.
All righty. Well, let's head over to Tammy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I go on this channel, another one with David, and talk about movies with everybody, and it's interesting to check out new films and hear everybody's opinions. And I have a collection of my own, and that's really about it right now, since it's now winter time. So
All righty, let's head over to Jake. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm Kotobukijake. I'm the co-host of SeptumSin versus the World, and we've been semi-active lately after a period of not as much activity, so that's kind of fun. Hopefully that'll continue in the near future. Meanwhile, I do keep very busy with my day job, which is not quite so glamorous as getting to work on all those fun shows, but still, keep busy. But lately, I have been trying very hard to get back into the creative spirit. I've dusted off some of my old stories that I've been sitting on for far too long, and I'm trying really hard to actually make a push toward getting some things publishable in the near future. So we shall see how that goes, but that is taking up a good chunk of my time. And of course, I also try to get some viewing in so that I can join these fine folks for our discussions. And, this being the season for holiday stuff, I'm watching a lot of holiday stuff, and it's always good times.
All righty.
Yep.
Heading over to you, Brandon. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm SeptumSin, a SeptumSin versus the World. We love physical media. Of course, I'm also trying to do a little bit here and there in the creative scenes. I've been in a few things. Matter of fact, I'm going to appear in, and Jake, we're going to both appear in the upcoming film Pickleball Exorcist, which is fun. That was actually an unexpected thing. I have been working on helping people with releasing their own stuff, I helped Dave with Tales of the Forgotten Part 1, and we're working on with him Part 2. And I just finished helped finish a product for Evan Jacobs that we're going to be releasing on Anhedenia under the Anhedenia name soon. And we finished a short film that will be in one of the upcoming Amityverse films, which is good. Of course, we also have our own channel to do stuff, but who cares about that? But this week, we are doing a lot of our holiday stuff. Wednesday, we're going to do kind of a gift guide. Each of us is going to take out 10 items that we think would be pretty cool gifts that are in print, that are just kind of cool gift items for, media collectors and so on. And then we're going to try and do our Christmas episode next Monday, so about a week from now, on the 23rd. Mm-hmm. Christmas episode / Black Friday, which, with that being said, we'll probably not film that one under the tree like we normally do, because battery life. But Wednesday is so But we'll have some definitely festive stuff in the background. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and next week.
Alrighty.
I'll say next week after you're done, Dave.
Okay. Well, my name is David Streggy. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So thank you for coming along with us on this fantabulous journey we've been having. It's been a blast so far, and I know we're coming on the end of the year here shortly, but I do go on and moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where we also go on and try to go on every Sunday or so. Just recently, we did a discussion this last Sunday on the 1959 version of Ben-Hur, Tale of Christ, or A Tale of the Christ. So check that out. That was pretty interesting. Yeah, Brandon and I have been working on trying to get the rest of the anthologies put together. I believe we have a couple more scenes, and then number 2 is almost done. And then we'll see what else we have left to see if we have enough for a third film or whatnot. But I was in a band at one point in time, and ended up writing a ton of music for it, and I did a lot of it with my band buddy at the time. And thanks to a public app, I've been able to put music to it, and because I pay a subscription to it, the music is mine. So I'm about to be putting together and releasing some albums of the band on Kunaki, or so that mostly for myself, not really in it for the money at this moment. I just want it to be put together and whatnot the way that I originally planned on it with my band back in the day, and just wanted to have it for myself. But for those of you who are my friends, you guys are more than welcome to have a chance at getting copies of these. And I know I've got at least 16 to 17 albums with Drown Out Dark that are planning for releases. So and a couple of side projects that I've put together as well. So if you're interested, down the line, I'll send you some links for that stuff. But I do some video pickups and some video reviews from time to time, and whatnot on the Delusions of Grandeur channel. And I do some gameplaying from time to time. Tammy just recently got me the Silent Hill 2 game, so I've been doing some gameplay on that. And I guess this is back over to you, Brandon. I think we actually just put together the cover art for the first album for Drown Out Dark. So thank you for helping me with that.
Actually, with what you gave me, I was able to put together all 3 of them. So,
Cool.
So with that, though, we're going to really hit it, since we're doing this on the 23rd, right before the holiday. We're going to be getting some pretty cool stuff going. We're covering We're going to be covering 2 short animated films. Mickey's Christmas Carol, because we didn't have enough Christmas carols this time around. And also a Charlie Brown Christmas. We got to get all the classics here. But I figure that either one of those 2 would be done so quickly it wouldn't be worth an episode. So, we can have a full-length episode with the two together.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for all that information, and hopefully everyone is going to have a great Christmas coming up here, and definitely join us for the last couple of episodes before we end off the year, and come back with us and enjoy the holidays. And everyone say good night, and I guess we'll see you same time, same channel next week.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Same bat time, same bat
Night,
channel.